The Hughes Fire, currently burning over 5,000 acres in Los Angeles County, is a stark reminder of the persistent wildfire threat in this region. As the flames rage, consuming vast swaths of land and displacing countless lives, we are forced to confront an unsettling truth. This is not an isolated incident. Several factors suggest that this will not be the last significant wildfire to scar this beautiful, yet vulnerable landscape. In the face of this growing threat, we must ask ourselves, what are the underlying causes that make this land so susceptible to these devastating fires? The Santa Ana winds, infamous for their role in fanning the flames of wildfires, are a constant presence in Southern California. These powerful winds, often reaching speeds of up to 70 miles per hour, are a natural phenomenon that has shaped the region's climate and ecology for centuries. They originate from high-pressure systems over the Great Basin and flow towards the low-pressure areas along the coast, creating a unique weather pattern that is both awe-inspiring and dangerous. These winds originating in the arid Great Basin sweep across the landscape, wringing every last drop of moisture from the air. As they descend from the higher elevations, they warm up and dry out even further, creating an environment that is exceptionally dry and prone to wildfires. The lack of humidity in the air exacerbates the dryness of the vegetation, turning it into a tinderbox ready to ignite at the slightest provocation. The result is an environment primed for combustion, where vegetation becomes tinder, awaiting a single spark to ignite. This is particularly concerning in areas with dense vegetation, such as forests and chaparral, where the accumulation of dry leaves, twigs, and other organic matter can lead to rapid and uncontrollable fires. The combination of dry conditions and strong winds creates a perfect storm for wildfires, making it incredibly challenging for firefighters to contain and extinguish them. The very air itself seems to crackle with anticipation, a palpable tension hanging heavy over the land. The heat waves rising from the dry earth create a shimmering effect, distorting the landscape and adding to the sense of unease. It's as if the land is holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable spark that will set it ablaze. This tension is felt not just by the people living in these areas, but also by the wildlife that calls this region home. The chaparral, that iconic shrubland of the California landscape, adapted to infrequent fires, now faces an ever-increasing threat from these drier conditions. Historically, chaparral ecosystems have evolved to withstand and even thrive after occasional fires, but the frequency and intensity of modern wildfires are pushing these adaptations to their limits. The prolonged drought conditions, coupled with the relentless Santa Ana winds, are creating a scenario where the chaparral may not have enough time to recover between fires. The delicate balance, maintained for millennia, is shifting, and the consequences are all too evident in the fiery infernos that now regularly sweep across the region. These wildfires not only destroy homes and habitats, but also release massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, contributing to climate change and creating a vicious cycle. The increasing frequency of these fires is a stark reminder of the urgent need for effective fire management strategies and climate action to protect these vulnerable ecosystems and the communities that depend on them. Imagine a wildfire already raging with an insatiable hunger, now propelled by an unseen force, a force that turns a manageable situation into a nightmare scenario. This force is capable of transforming a controlled burn into an unstoppable inferno, a beast that devours everything in its path. These are the Santa Ana winds at their most ferocious, capable of driving flames at speeds that defy belief, turning a small spark into a raging monster within minutes. The winds can create fire tornadoes, swirling columns of fire that dance across the landscape, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. These fire whirls are not just visually terrifying but also incredibly destructive. These winds, often gusting to over 40 miles per hour, can carry embers, tiny sparks of fire, for miles. These embers can land on dry vegetation, rooftops, or any flammable material, igniting new fires far from the original blaze. This phenomenon, known as spotting, can result in multiple fires starting in different locations, overwhelming firefighting efforts and resources. The wind becomes a weapon, wielded by the fire, spreading its reach far and wide. It pushes the flames forward with relentless force, making containment a near impossible task. Firefighters find themselves battling not just the flames but also the wind, which can change direction unpredictably, making their job even more dangerous. The combination of fire and wind creates a volatile and deadly environment, where every second counts and every decision can mean the difference between life and death. Year after year, the dry brush and grasses accumulate, a vast carpet of fuel stretching across the hills and canyons. This is the legacy of a changing climate, of warmer temperatures and altered rainfall patterns. The wet season, once a time of renewal, now arrives later and departs earlier, leaving behind a landscape parched and vulnerable. The very plants themselves, adapted to survive the occasional fire, now become unwitting accomplices in their own destruction. The oils in their leaves, once a defense against herbivores, now serve as accelerants, fueling the flames that consume them. The Earth's climate is changing, and here in Southern California, the consequences are all too apparent. Temperatures are rising, and with each passing year, new records are set. Rainfall patterns are shifting, becoming more erratic and unpredictable. The wet seasons are shorter, the dry seasons longer, and the land is thirstier than ever. These changes, driven by human activity, are creating the perfect conditions for wildfires to flourish. The fire season, once a defined period, now stretches on for months, a relentless assault on this fragile ecosystem. As humans push further into the wildland, driven by the need for space and resources, we create a dangerous juxtaposition, the wildland-urban interface. Here, homes and businesses are built right up to the edge of the wilderness, surrounded by the very fuels that feed wildfires. A stray ember, a discarded cigarette, a spark from a lawnmower, any one of these can ignite a conflagration. And when fire does erupt in this zone, the consequences can be catastrophic. Homes are lost, lives are disrupted, and the very fabric of these communities is torn apart. The history of Southern California is etched in fire. From the earliest records, we see that fire has been an integral part of this region's story. Indigenous peoples used controlled burns to manage the land, promoting the growth of certain plants and maintaining open landscapes. These practices were essential for their way of life and for the health of the ecosystem. For millennia, wildfires have swept across this land, shaping the landscape and influencing the evolution of its flora and fauna. The natural fire cycles help to clear out dead vegetation, recycle nutrients back into the soil, and create a mosaic of different habitats that supported a diverse range of species. The native plants here are adapted to fire, with some species having thick bark to protect against the heat, while others have seeds that only germinate in response to the intense heat of a wildfire. These adaptations have allowed them to thrive in an environment where fire is a regular occurrence. Some plants even require fire for their seeds to germinate. After a fire, the landscape may look devastated, but it is actually the beginning of a renewal process. Seeds that have lain dormant in the soil are triggered to sprout, and new growth quickly covers the charred ground. But the fires of today are different. Unlike the natural cyclical fires of the past, modern wildfires are often larger, more intense, and more destructive. This change is driven by a combination of factors, including climate change, which has led to hotter and drier conditions, and human activities that have altered the landscape and increased the amount of flammable material. They are larger, more intense, and more frequent, driven by a changing climate and an abundance of fuel. The increased temperatures and prolonged droughts have created conditions where fires can spread rapidly and burn with unprecedented ferocity. Additionally, the buildup of dead vegetation and the expansion of human settlements into fire-prone areas have exacerbated the problem. The historical fire regime, once a natural cycle of renewal, has been disrupted. In the past, fires would occur at regular intervals, allowing ecosystems to recover and maintain their balance. However, the current situation is far from this natural order. The frequency and intensity of modern fires have overwhelmed the ability of many ecosystems to recover. This has been replaced by a new era of megafires, which are massive, uncontrollable blazes that can burn for weeks or even months. These megafires are not only more destructive but also more difficult to manage and contain. They pose a significant threat to both natural and human environments. The consequences for the environment and human communities alike are devastating. Entire ecosystems can be wiped out, and the loss of plant and animal species can be irreversible. Human communities are also at great risk, with homes, infrastructure, and lives being lost to these infernos. The economic and social impacts are profound, as communities struggle to rebuild and recover from the devastation. Fighting wildfires is a dangerous and demanding task, requiring skill, courage, and a deep respect for the power of nature. Firefighters put their lives on the line every day to protect our communities and our environment. But the resources available to fight these fires are finite, and in recent years, they have been stretched increasingly thin. The fire season is longer, the fires are larger and more intense, and the number of firefighters and equipment available to fight them has not kept pace. The Hughes Fire, though tragic, serves as a stark reminder of the ever-present threat of wildfires in our region. It is not a question of if, but when, the next fire will ignite. These factors, from climate change to urban development, paint a clear picture. The Hughes Fire is unlikely to be the last significant wildfire in the region. We must heed the warnings of these fires and take action to protect our communities and our environment. Ongoing efforts in fire prevention, climate mitigation, and community planning are essential to address the persistent wildfire threat.